Guess she thought she could buy class with a business ticket. A female attendant, hair slicked, gloves tight, raises an electric clipper. Its buzz cuts through the air like static before a storm. "Let's make sure she's clean," she says. "For security." The woman doesn't move, doesn't plead. She's calm in a way that frightens everyone who isn't. Her name, though no one there knew it yet, was Danielle Carter, founder, majority shareholder of the Airline, humiliating her. The first lock falls. It hits the tile with a soft slap, dark against white floor. Gasps rise. Laughter follows. Someone records. Someone else mutters, "This is insane." Danielle's eyes stay forward, anchored, unblinking. Her pearl earrings barely sway. Inside, she's timing every second, every insult, every camera angle, because in less than 5 minutes, those same cameras will capture the reversal of a lifetime. The attendant grins wider, pressing the clipper closer. "Smile for the internet," she jokes. Danielle's voice cuts through the noise low, even. "You're sure you want this recorded?" The room hesitates. That calm, too calm, unsettles them. No shouting, no fight, just presence. Somewhere in the back, a trainee whispers, "That name, Carter. I saw it on the VIP list." Her supervisor snaps, "Keep your mouth shut." Phones keep filming. The humiliation keeps rolling. Another strip of hair falls. Danielle's hands stay folded in her lap, steady, deliberate. A memory flickers. 15 years ago, a hotel clerk laughed at her curls and denied her service. She didn't argue then either. She built an empire instead. Back to the present. The attendant leans close, smirking. Next time, dress for first class. Danielle tilts her head, half-shaved, half-crowned. Her phone, hidden beneath her sleeve, vibrates once. A message from her assistant. "System armed. Protocol A47 ready." Her lips barely move. Perfect timing. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change. And we're glad you're here. Now, back to Danielle. The attendant raises the clipper again. Any last words? Danielle's eyes lift, steady, sharp. Just one. Freeze frame. Her stare. Half hair, half fire. They thought they were stripping her pride. They were stripping their future. Just one. That's all she said. The attendant froze mid-motion. The clippers still buzzed, trembling inches from Danielle's scalp. For the first time, the laughter faded. A faint chime sounded not from her, but from the airport PA system. Then another, sharper. Phones in several employees' pockets vibrated at once. A mass email had just landed. Subject: urgent. Security protocol violation. O'Hare, Terminal 3. From Office of the CEO. The attendant blinked, confused. The two male guards glanced at each other. One muttered, "What the hell is this?" Danielle rose slowly, hair uneven, calm untouched. She brushed the fallen strands from her shoulders with measured grace. Every eye followed the motion. "You wanted proof?" she said quietly. "Here it comes." Behind her, on the big departure screen, the airline logo flickered once, twice, then switched to a plain white screen that read, "Internal audit in progress. Please stand by." The crowd began murmuring. Passengers reached for their phone. News alerts were already lighting up. Breaking. Airline CEO issues sudden suspension of terminal staff. The attendant stammered, "Wait, that can't be real." Danielle turned toward her, voice low but razor sharp. "You should have checked who was in your chair before you turned on that blade." A gasp spread through the terminal. The two men who had held her stepped back instinctively, as if the floor itself had shifted. It had power, had changed direction. The young trainee who had recognized her earlier stepped forward, voice trembling. "Miss Carter, I'm sorry. I knew something felt wrong." Danielle met her eyes, not with anger, but finality. "You did what fear taught you. Now watch what accountability looks like." The intercom crackled. "Attention all staff. Effective immediately. O'Hare ground operations are suspended for audit. Report to corporate for investigation." Gasps. One man dropped his badge. Another cursed under his breath. Danielle's smartwatch blinked again, a message from Nia, her assistant. Stream synchronized, footage mirrored to HQ and media outlets. Her lips curved slightly, almost a smile. "Good. Let's make this public." The same passengers who had filmed her humiliation were now filming her ascendancy. Phones flipped. Cameras turned. The internet had already decided who the story belonged to. The attendant took a shaky step back. "We didn't know." You didn't need to, Danielle interrupted. Respect isn't a reward for recognition. The crowd erupted, some clapped, others whispered, phones flashing in disbelief. A man in a pilot's uniform hurried over, pale. Ma'am, headquarters is on the line. They're asking for you. Danielle looked at him, then at the still buzzing clipper in the attendant's hand. She reached out, turned it off, and set it gently on the counter. You can stop cutting now, she said. The job's done. Silence, then applause. Real, heavy, cathartic. Danielle stood there half-shaved, wholly unshaken, and for the first time, the staff understood they hadn't just touched her hair. They'd touched history. The echo of applause still hung in the air when Danielle's phone buzzed again, this time louder, sharper. On screen, corporate board, emergency conference line. She tapped once. Her voice was low, steady, formal. Carter here. Proceed. Through the airport speakers came a woman's voice, clipped and professional. Carla Bennett, chief legal officer. Miss Carter, we've received the live footage. Media outlets are requesting confirmation. Do you authorize full disclosure? Danielle's eyes moved slowly across the terminal at the faces that had laughed, the guards who now stood frozen, and the passengers filming in silence. Yes, release everything. No edits, no filters. Let the world see exactly how leadership looks when stripped bare. Her words carried, no microphone needed. Even the hum of the conveyor belts seemed to pause. Carla's voice returned. Understood. Flight operations have been suspended. Terminal 3 is locked. You have full command authority on site. Danielle turned toward the nearest departure board. The screens were flickering one by one, flights switching from on time to canceled. The attendants gasped. Phones buzzed across the terminal like a storm of bees. Passengers whispered, "That's her, the CEO, the woman they shaved." A mother pulled her teenage daughter closer. A man in a suit muttered, "She's shutting it all down. Right here." Ah. Danielle adjusted her sleeve, revealing the company logo engraved into her watch, the same logo that now blinked red on every terminal screen. She spoke clearly, to no one and everyone. Operations are grounded until further notice. Staff on duty will report to ethics for immediate review. The supervisor who had mocked her earlier stepped forward, voice shaking. Miss Carter, please, we didn't mean harm. It was protocol. Danielle cut her off, not with anger, but gravity. Protocol doesn't give you permission to humiliate people. It tests who you are when you think no one's watching. She handed her boarding pass still folded, unused to the young trainee who had defended her. Get this woman home, Danielle said softly. She deserves a seat, not a lecture. The trainee's eyes watered. Thank you, ma'am. As Danielle turned toward the exit, news alerts began rolling across the screen. Breaking. Airline CO orders grounding after discrimination incident. Live footage from O'Hare goes viral, staff suspended. Number airline collapse trending worldwide. Reporters were already rushing in through security. Microphones, cameras, questions. Daniela didn't stop walking. Every step was measured like a verdict being delivered in slow motion. A passenger called out, "Miss Carter, are you pressing charges?" She paused, half-turned, her expression unreadable. "No, I'm issuing reform." Flashbulbs burst. She kept walking. Outside, the automatic doors parted, letting in the rush of cold Chicago air. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman with half her head shaved and the other half shining like armor. She whispered, almost to herself, "They thought they could strip my dignity. They just revealed their own bankruptcy." Oh. Behind her, the terminal lights dimmed, flights grounded, operations halted. An empire paused, not by chaos, but by conscience. And somewhere in the distance, a voice on the PA crackled one last announcement. "This is your captain speaking. All further flights have been canceled, indefinitely." Danielle didn't look back. She didn't need to. Justice had already taken off. By the time Danielle reached the black sedan waiting outside Terminal 3, the world had already caught fire. Her name was everywhere on news tickers, on live streams, on hashtags burning through every platform. Inside the car, her assistant Nia was on 3 screens at once. Legal, comms, finance. "Ma'am, corporate lines are jammed," she said quickly. "CNN, BBC, Reuters, they all want statements. Stock dropped 12 points in 20 minutes. What do we tell them?" Danielle slid into the back seat, silent for a beat. Half her hair gone, the other half catching light like polished obsidian. She looked less like a victim, more like a verdict. "We tell them the truth," she said simply. "That an airline doesn't fall because of one scandal. It falls because rot finally met sunlight." Nia exhaled, fingers racing across her tablet. "And the staff?" Suspend them, but don't destroy them. Let the investigation speak. We'll reform, not retaliate. Her tone wasn't soft. It was surgical, the kind that didn't ask for silence. It created it. Outside, the Chicago skyline blurred past the city, unaware it was witnessing the birth of a case study in leadership. Billboards already flickered with headlines. Humiliation turns to history. CEO grounded flights, not values. Inside the car, Nia turned the tablet toward her. Board wants to draft a statement. They suggest something controlled, defensive. Danielle shook her head slowly. No control, no defense, just presence. She reached for the tablet, her reflection staring back, calm, raw, unapologetically human. Her fingers typed without hesitation. This morning, I walked into one of our terminals as a passenger. I left it as a witness. What happened wasn't an incident, it was a mirror. And when a company looks in the mirror and doesn't like what it sees, it has two choices: hide or rebuild. We choose to rebuild. Nia read it aloud, her voice cracking slightly. It's perfect. Danielle leaned back, closing her eyes for the first time since the chaos began. Send it. Every network, every language. Seconds later, phones buzzed across the world, from Chicago to Seoul, from Lagos to London. People read the statement out loud on trains, in offices, in airports. A woman whispered to her son, "That's power without noise." In the boardroom downtown, executives stared at screens streaming live reactions, comments flooding in, stock tickers pausing mid-scroll. And for the first time in years, silence filled a corporate floor. Back in the car, Nia turned to Danielle. "Ma'am, the press is calling your words a 5-minute masterclass in crisis control." Danielle opened her eyes. Steady. "It wasn't control," she said. "It was consequence." The driver glanced up through the mirror. "Where to, Miss Carter?" Danielle looked out at the city, the same skyline that once ignored her, now reflecting her face across glass towers. "Headquarters," she replied. "We've got an airline to rebuild properly this time." As the car pulled into traffic, a news anchor's voice echoed faintly from the radio. In an unprecedented move, CEO Danielle Carter grounded her own company after staff humiliated her at O'Hare Airport. The internet calls it the 5-minute collapse speech. Danielle looked out the window, her reflection fading into the city lights, her whisper barely audible, but unshakably certain. Sometimes collapse isn't the end, it's the sound of truth landing. The elevator doors slid open with a hiss that felt like judgment. Danielle stepped out onto the 48th floor, the glass-encased heart of Aether Air's global headquarters. The boardroom ahead gleamed with sterile perfection. Marble table, panoramic view, 12 silent men and women waiting for a storm that had already hit. She walked in. No entourage, no apology, only the sound of her heels cutting through the tension. At the head of the table, Chairman Hale, gray hair, voice like dry paper, began nervously. "Miss Carter first. Allow me to express—" Danielle raised a hand. The room froze. "Don't express. Listen." She set a small black folder on the table, the same folder she had carried onto the plane before O'Hare. It wasn't a file. It was evident. She tapped it once. The wall screen behind her came alive with live footage, the clip from the airport. Laughter, the buzzing of clippers, the moment her hair hit the floor. The board members squirmed. "That," she said, voice measured, "is how our uniform looks when worn without conscience." No one spoke. Only the hum of air conditioning filled the silence. "You want to talk about damage control?" Danielle continued. "Let's start with damage creation and why it took humiliation for accountability to exist." A woman from HR swallowed hard. "Miss Carter, the staff involved, they've been suspended pending review." "Suspension isn't reform," Danielle cut in. "It's a pause. I don't pause injustice. I end it." Her words didn't rise in volume. They rose in weight. Every syllable sounded like policy being written in real time. She turned toward the panoramic window overlooking the city. "I built Aether Air to fly people, not ego. If we can't treat dignity as priority one, we don't deserve the sky." Behind her, Nia projected the current stock data, a sharp drop, then a slow climb, public sympathy shifting. "Ma'am," Nia said softly, "your statement's gone global. Public support at 82%. Investors are calling it moral leadership." Chairman Hale cleared his throat. "We've never seen such a response. But grounding operations financially, it's catastrophic." Danielle turned back, calm but unflinching. "Then let it be. You can rebuild planes. You can't rebuild trust once it's gone." The room fell utterly still. Someone whispered, "She's serious." Someone else whispered, "She always is." Danielle placed both hands on the table, leaning in slightly. "Effective immediately," she said. Ether Air will implement zero-tolerance policy on profiling and harassment. Every employee, from gate agent to executive, will complete anti-bias retraining. Those who fail will not return. Her voice didn't shake. It ruled. She straightened, collecting her folder. "And one more thing," she added, glancing toward the live press feed being projected on the wall. "This meeting isn't confidential." Every head turned. The red light on the wall camera was blinking. They were live, the entire world watching. Danielle's final words were simple. "Transparency isn't weakness. It's how you fly above shame." Then she walked out, not as the humiliated woman from Gate C-14, but as the architect of a reckoning. Behind her, the board sat frozen. And somewhere across the city, another news anchor said softly, the collapse wasn't her downfall. It was her rebuild. By the next morning, the world had chosen sides. Danielle's name trended on every screen from Times Square to Nairobi. Half the internet called her a symbol. The other half called her a storm. On one side, Queen Energy. She didn't shout, she rewrote the script. Justice without rage. Iconic. On the other, PR stunt. No way a CEO just happened to get filmed. She planned this. And somewhere in between, millions watched the same clip again and again. A woman humiliated, then rising without raising her voice. Inside her penthouse office, morning light spilled across the marble desk. Nia scrolled through feeds projected onto the glass wall. Public sentiment 73% positive, she said. Donations to the Dignity Fund are surging, but Danielle didn't look up from her coffee. But Nia hesitated. Fox and several commentators are pushing a narrative that you staged it, that it was corporate theater. Danielle set the cup down. The quiet click echoed like punctuation. People confuse control with choreography, she said. Let them argue. Truth doesn't need defenders, just witnesses. The intercom chimed. Miss Carter, her secretary's voice came through. CNN is requesting a live interview. Global feed. They want you tonight. Danielle's eyes shifted toward the skyline. Gray clouds moving slow above the lake, as if even the weather were holding its breath. Said it, she said. Prime time. Nia's brows furrowed. You sure? The narrative's volatile. They'll push hard. Good, Danielle replied. Let them. We built an airline on turbulence. We'll ride it. That evening, the studio lights burned white-hot. She sat in the center chair, black blazer, no wig, her half-grown hair gleaming like armor under the lens. Across from her, anchor Evelyn Rhodes adjusted her notes. Miss Carter, thank you for joining us, she began. Many people are calling you the face of modern accountability. Others say you orchestrated the event. Did you? Danielle's lips curved slightly. If by orchestrated you mean walking into my own company to see how it treats strangers, then yes, I did. The room went still. Evelyn blinked. So you anticipated discrimination? I anticipated truth, Danielle answered. The difference is whether you're brave enough to face it when it arrives. Her voice carried the same calm that had silenced an airport. No anger, just gravity. Evelyn leaned forward. Your actions cost the airline nearly $500 million in grounded flights. Some say that's reckless. Danielle's gaze didn't waver. Reckless is letting bias cost us human dignity. Money recovers, culture doesn't. The control room went quiet. One of the producers whispered, We've never seen a CEO talk like this. As the segment ended, Evelyn said softly, Any final message to those who doubted you? Danielle turned directly to the camera. Don't believe in perfection, believe in correction. What happened to me wasn't a crisis, it was a mirror. And I'm not the only reflection. Cut to black. Across the world, screens froze on her half-shaved silhouette. Unshaken, unfiltered, unforgettable. Within minutes, hashtags surged again. Number, believe in correction. Number, Danielle live. Justice can be quiet. Nia texted her as she left the studio. You just broke the internet again. Danielle smiled faintly, walking past cameras and flashing lights. Good, she whispered. Now let's rebuild something worth the noise. The studio doors closed behind her with a metallic sigh. Outside, flashes still flared through the night, reporters shouting questions that never reached her pace. Danielle didn't stop. The city glowed, restless, alive with her name. In the black sedan waiting at the curb, Nia was already on the phone. Ma'am, she said, hanging up quickly, we're getting calls, lots of them, from other CEOs. Danielle slid in, gaze fixed on the skyline. Which ones? Nia's tablet screen lit up with names: Eros 1, Skylink, Nova, Air. Competitors, rivals, sometimes allies. They want private meetings. They're saying this could destabilize the industry. Some are pretending it's solidarity. Some, not so much. Danielle's lips curved faintly. When truth shakes the floor, everyone pretends to help hold the ceiling. Nia smiled. And you don't believe them. I believe in patterns, not pity. Her phone buzzed again, a direct message from Elias Monroe, CEO of Skylink, the airline's biggest rival. Tough week. If you ever consider stepping down, my board would welcome your expertise. She stared at the message for a long second, then locked the screen without replying. The car merged into the slow current of downtown traffic. Billboards above still showed her interview replaying in silence. One line glowed brighter than the rest. Don't believe in perfection. Believe in correction. Inside the car, Nia spoke cautiously. Stock stabilizing, ma'am. But Skylink just announced a new PR campaign, The Airline That Listens. It's clearly copying your narrative. Danielle's expression didn't change. They'll borrow my language, not my backbone. She looked out the window, her reflection overlapping the city lights. Half shadow, half flame. Let them play empathy. We'll build it. At that moment, another call came through the president's office, flagged urgent. Nia's eyes widened. Ma'am, the White House wants to speak. They're scheduling a summit on ethics in corporate culture. They're asking you to lead the opening session. For the first time that day, Danielle was silent. Then she exhaled, slow and grounded. From humiliation to invitation, she murmured. That's quite a flight path. Her phone buzzed again this time. A private alert from her corporate security team. Subject: possible data breach. Internal communications flagged. Source: competitor network. Her jaw tightened. They're not just copying, she said quietly. They're digging. Nia frowned. Do you want me to lock down the servers? Not yet, Danielle replied. Let them think they're ahead. The real checkmate isn't protection, it's exposure. The car stopped at a red light. Outside, a massive screen showed footage of her leaving the CNN studio, slow motion, half lit by street lamp. Beneath it, the caption read, "The woman who grounded an industry." Danielle watched herself on that screen, not smiling, not proud, just awake. Nia, she said softly, schedule that summit call and pull every internal record from the last 5 years. We're not just rebuilding Aether Air. We're cleaning the sky. Nia nodded, her tone firm now. Yes, ma'am. As the light turned green, the car rolled forward, and in the reflection of the glass towers, Danielle's silhouette passed like a shadow of reform. By Wednesday morning, the storm had changed direction. Not against Danielle, but toward her. A sudden flood of headlines erupted across finance networks. Insider leaks suggest CEO manipulated viral incident. Anonymous source. Carter knew cameras were rolling. Number stage justice trending as Aether Air's queen losing her crown. Nia burst into the office, tablet in hand. Ma'am, they're everywhere. Someone's releasing internal emails, edited ones. They're making it look like you planned the humiliation. Danielle didn't flinch. She stood by the glass window overlooking Chicago's skyline, phone in hand, silent. Skylink, she said finally. They're trying to turn exposure into doubt. Nia's voice trembled. Should I issue a denial? No, Danielle replied. We don't deny truth. We demonstrate it. She walked to her desk, unlocked a black steel case, and withdrew a slim silver drive. This, she said, is the full transparency archive. Every internal message since my first day as CEO. Nia blinked. You kept everything? Everything, Danielle confirmed. Because when you're a black woman running an empire, you don't get the luxury of he said, she said. You build receipts. Minutes later, Danielle strode into the media hall on the top floor, a room now filled with reporters hungry for blood. Flashes burst as she approached the podium. A voice shouted from the crowd, Miss Carter, did you orchestrate the O'Hare incident for publicity? Danielle pressed the power key on a small remote. Behind her, the giant display screen flickered to life. Line after line of verified emails, unedited timestamps, every conversation intact. These, she said, are our records. Not redacted, not rewritten, unfiltered. Another journalist shouted, but the leak came from a rival firm currently under investigation for data theft. She cut in. You'll find their fingerprints in our server logs, and soon, so will federal investigators. A ripple of whispers swept through the room. Cameras zoomed in. The transparency was disarming, surgical, undeniable. They wanted you to question my integrity, Danielle continued. I'd rather you confirm it yourself. Her tone didn't climb, it deepened. The kind of voice that made accusation sound like confession from someone else. Nia, standing near the side, whispered to a security aide, "Send the verification files to the press. Let them see the digital signatures match." Within seconds, phones across the hall lit up confirmation alerts from cybersecurity firm. Gasps, murmurs, a few audible apologies. Danielle glanced at the stunned faces. Truth, she said, isn't fragile. It doesn't hide behind NDAs or PR statements. It just needs light. Her eyes lingered on one particular camera. The live broadcast streaming to millions. To anyone watching, she said clearly. Don't let doubt be the weapon they hand you. Ask for proof. And when proof arrives, don't look away. Outside, social feeds flipped again in real time. Number full receipts. Carter didn't flinch. Number truth needs light. Back inside, Nia leaned in and whispered, the cybercrime unit just confirmed it. Skylink's data trail is exposed. They're collapsing. Danielle exhaled quietly. Good. Let the truth bankrupt imitation. She turned back to the reporters one last time. We don't fear scrutiny, she said. We invite it. Because justice, real justice, isn't a performance. It's policy. She stepped down from the podium, calm as sunrise. And by the time she reached the elevator, Skylink's stock had fallen 17%. By Friday, the empire she'd rebuilt on truth had drawn blood. Skylink's headquarters was swarmed by investigators. Servers seized. Executives questioned. The rival airline's stock plummeted 24% before noon. But corruption never dies quietly. When cornered, it claws. That evening, Danielle's phone buzzed with a single headline that sliced deeper than any rumor. Exclusive. Hidden past of CEO Danielle Carter leaked juvenile record surfaces. Her reflection froze against the office glass. Nia's voice came from behind her, soft, hesitant. Ma'am, they released it. The file from when you were 16. Danielle turned slowly. Her eyes didn't show surprise, only memory. The arrest? She asked quietly. Nia nodded. They're saying you assaulted a store clerk. They're twisting it. Danielle looked back at the skyline, the same city that had once called her dangerous before it called her brilliant. It wasn't assault, she said. It was defense. My mother was there. For the first time in days, silence filled the room like gravity. Nia stepped closer. You want me to prepare a statement? No, Danielle replied. I'll tell it myself. On camera. An hour later, she sat again under studio lights. No corporate backdrop this time. Just black walls and truth. The live feed began with her face, unguarded. You've seen the headlines, she said calmly. So let's go back to the beginning. Her voice softened. Steady but heavy. I was 16, south side of Chicago. My mother and I were in a corner store. A clerk followed us, said people like us don't pay. He grabbed her arm. I hit his wrist to make him let go. He fell. We left. He called the police. A long pause. Cameras zoomed in. That night I learned something. When you defend your dignity, the world calls it aggression. Her hands folded loosely on her lap. The record was sealed. But men like Elias Monroe don't dig for truth. They dig for shame. Outside the studio, the Skylink CEO's smirk played on another screen, clips of him claiming moral superiority. Everyone has skeletons, he told reporters. Some just hide them better. Back in the studio, Danielle raised her gaze directly into the lens. Yes, I hit his wrist. I stopped a hand that didn't belong on my mother. That hand taught me how power behaves when it thinks no one will fight back. The chat feed exploded. She owned it. That's not scandal, that's survival. Protecting her mother? That's leadership before the title. Nia, watching from the control room, felt her throat tighten. Danielle's calm wasn't rehearsed, it was inherited. A generation's worth of silence speaking all at once. They think exposing my past will shrink me, Danielle said. But this isn't a wound, it's a root. The feed ended with her words lingering in the dark. Don't let anyone weaponize your history. Without it, you wouldn't know what freedom costs. Outside, social feeds ignited again. Number root not wound. Number defended her mother. Carter speaks. And as Skylink's PR team scrambled to bury the backlash, one truth became inescapable. They hadn't uncovered her past. They'd revealed her purpose. By Monday morning, the headlines had turned again. This time not toward scandal, but toward legacy. Carter speaks truth. Nation listens. From arrest record to record reform. Congress summoned CEO who grounded an industry. The world wasn't debating her anymore. It was waiting for her next sentence. Danielle stood before the mirror in her office, half-grown hair shaped into a sharp fade. It wasn't vanity. It was declaration. A reminder that what they tried to strip, she chose to keep. Nia entered quietly, holding a manila envelope marked confidential, congressional hearing. "Ma'am," she said, "you're testifying tomorrow. The Committee on Corporate Equity and Ethics. Live, broadcast." Danielle nodded once. "Good." Nia hesitated. "They've confirmed who else will appear." She flipped the folder open. A photo of Elias Monroe, Skylink's CEO, stared up like a ghost, refusing to leave. Apparently, he's been subpoenaed too. Federal prosecutors traced the leak directly to his team. Danielle looked at the photo, then at the city beyond the window. "Poetic," she murmured. "He spent millions trying to bury my past. Now he'll have to answer for his." The next morning, the marble halls of the U.S. Capitol buzzed with cameras and murmurs. Danielle walked in wearing charcoal gray, no jewelry, no makeup beyond calm. Every click of her heels echoed like punctuation. Inside the chamber, senators adjusted microphone. Cameras flashed as the clerk called her name, Miss Danielle Carter, Chief Executive Officer, Ether Air. She took her seat, microphone poised, gaze steady. Across the table sat Elias Monroe, pale under the fluorescent lights. His confidence melted into corporate residue. The chairwoman leaned forward. "Miss Carter, you've become the face of accountability in modern business. But critics argue that grounding flights over bias was extreme. What do you say to that?" Danielle leaned closer to the mic. "When injustice flies, it doesn't stay in one seat. It fills the cabin. My grounding wasn't punishment. It was landing." The room went silent. Even the stenographer paused mid-keystroke. A senator asked, "Do you believe discrimination can truly be eliminated from corporations?" "Not eliminated," she replied, "but cornered. The problem isn't bias itself, it's denial. You can't cure what you refuse to see." Gasps rippled through the chamber. Cameras flashed. Elias shifted uncomfortably, clearing his throat. "With respect, Miss Carter, you weaponized victimhood for profit." She turned her head slowly, meeting his eyes. "Profit?" she said evenly. "You mean the billions reclaimed by transparency, or the respect you've been bankrupt in since Tuesday?" The gallery erupted murmurs, restrained applause, the sound of truth colliding with pride. The chairwoman tapped her gavel gently. "Order." But the energy in the room had shifted. Danielle wasn't testifying anymore. She was teaching. "We talk about ethics like it's an accessory," Danielle continued. "But ethics isn't what you wear when people are watching. It's how you treat the unseen. I didn't collapse an airline. I just refused to let hypocrisy keep flying." One final flash of cameras, the moment immortalized on front pages before the day even ended. When the hearing adjourned, journalists swarmed. One shouted, "Miss Carter, what's next after Congress?" She paused at the top of the marble steps, wind catching the edge of her blazer. "Next," she said, "we take this conversation global. Bias isn't American, it's human, and so is change." She descended the steps slowly, each step echoing the rhythm of reform. Behind her, Elias Monroe remained inside the man who once tried to humiliate her, now answering to the law she inspired. 2 weeks later, the flags of 100 nations rippled outside the United Nations headquarters in New York. A motorcade rolled to a stop, and from the second car, Danielle Carter stepped out, flanked not by bodyguards, but by purpose. Cameras flashed like lightning over marble. Headlines scrolled in real time. From runway to world stage, Carter leads Global Dignity Initiative. Inside the assembly hall, the atmosphere was electric diplomats whispering, translators ready, 1,000 eyes fixed on one woman whose silence had once reshaped an entire industry. As she reached the podium, the Secretary General extended his hand. "Miss Carter," he said softly, "you turned humiliation into hope. The floor is yours." Danielle smiled faintly, nodded, and adjusted the microphone. The hall fell into reverent quiet. "When they shaved my head in an airport," she began, "they thought they were taking something from me. But dignity isn't worn, it's carried." The translators paused a heartbeat before speaking, as if weighing the words themselves. "Since that day, I've learned something simple. Bias doesn't vanish. It migrates across borders, into systems, into silence. And silence is the most dangerous country of all." She looked out at the sea of flags, colors, crests, and histories of pride and pain. "We live in a world where apology travels faster than accountability, where people mistake exposure for progress. But real change doesn't trend. It works quietly, like a heartbeat. As she spoke, her voice took on that familiar calm, the same tone that had silenced an airport and humbled a boardroom. The Global Dignity Initiative isn't about punishing companies, she continued. It's about rebuilding the blueprint to make equity as structural as the walls that hold power. The hall listened, utterly still. No slogans, no corporate gloss, just truth shaped into policy. Then, just as her tone softened, a memory slipped through the armor. A Sunday afternoon years ago, her mother's hands combing through her hair before church. The smell of coconut oil, the mirror cracked from the corner, but her mother's voice steady. Baby, they can touch your hair. They can't touch your worth. The image hit her chest like a quiet echo. Danielle blinked once, steadying her breath. My mother taught me that worth is not a reward, she said. It's a right. And every system that forgets that truth must be rebuilt, not repaired. Applause began softly, then grew, swelling through the chamber. Delegates rose to their feet. The sound wasn't thunderous. It was deliberate, respectful. Danielle bowed her head slightly, then lifted it again. The woman they tried to humiliate taught me something, she said. You can strip away image, status, hair, but you can't shave off purpose. Standing ovation, cameras flashing, reporters scribbling headlines that would circle the globe before nightfall. As she stepped down from the podium, a young African delegate approached, eyes bright with tears. Miss Carter, she said, voice trembling, my mother watched you that day. She said, now the world knows how we rise. Danielle smiled, that quiet, knowing smile. Then tell her, she replied gently. We're just getting started. Outside, the wind caught her short hair again, defiant, free, and for the first time in her life, the world wasn't staring. It was listening. The jet hummed quietly against the gray sky, descending toward the south side of Chicago. No press, no entourage, no headlines, just Danielle, returning to the place that made her. She stepped out of the car onto cracked pavement, the same neighborhood where she once dreamed of flying, long before anyone called her CEO. Children played in the distance, their laughter echoing between murals of color and struggle. The world knew her as a global icon now. But this street knew her as a girl who once carried groceries home with her mother, hair in braids, head held high. Danielle walked through the small gate of Rose Hill Cemetery, clutching a single white lily. The sky hung low, quiet, reverent. She knelt before the gravestone marked Marianne Carter, 1959, 2011. A breeze moved through the trees, soft as a whisper. Hey, Mama, she said softly. It's been a long flight. Her fingers brushed the edge of the stone, the same hands that once built companies, signed reforms, silenced boardrooms, now trembling, not with power, but memory. You always said the world would try to test me, she murmured. You were right, but they didn't know who taught me to stand still. She smiled faintly, eyes glistening. They took my hair, Mama, but not my name. And when they tried to make me small, the world made room instead. A silence followed the kind that holds peace, not pain. Behind her, the city skyline shimmered in the distance, the towers of glass she now partly owned. A notification blinked on her phone. Message from Nia, an initiative approved, 70, 2 nations signed. We did it. Danielle stared at the screen for a long moment, then placed the phone face down on the grass. We did it, she echoed, voice barely above a breath. She stood, adjusting her coat, the wind tugging gently at her short hair. Then she turned toward the horizon where the airport lights flickered like tiny constellations of the past. Voiceover fades in calm, cinematic, the tone that defined her story. I used to think justice was loud fists, cameras, statements. But I've learned something quieter. Power doesn't shout, it remembers. Cut to a montage. Airport runways glowing at dusk. Employees greeting passengers with new training badges. Dignity first. A new billboard unveiled. Aether Air rebuilt on respect. Children watching her speech in classroom. Mothers nodding silently at the TV. Her face, half lit, half shadow, not as a symbol, but as a mirror. Back to the cemetery, Danielle lays the lily down. The wind carries her final whisper. They thought they could ground me, Mama. But you taught me we were born to fly. Fade out. Soft piano under narration, the same cadence as the beginning, but reversed. Before we end, where are you watching from? Drop your city or your country below, because this story isn't mine alone. It's for anyone who's ever been underestimated and decided to rise anyway. The screen fades to black. White text appears, inspired by true acts of dignity. dedicated to every soul who rose without raising their voice. The final frame lingers Danielle walking away under open sky, coat fluttering, hair short and shining in the wind. Then silence.